Hello and welcome to my second Hunter Guide video. This is the Games and Theory channel, and today we're taking a look at the Survival Hunter, or as we know it as the Tryhard Hunter. The first thing you need to know about the Survival Hunter is that it's based around stacking agility. This means that you have to go all in on agility, no attack power items, and you have to forsake crit items above big agility items, such as the Prester's Talisman, among those. First off, I'd like to take a bit of a discussion of which race and faction in World of Warcraft that is the best suited for doing the Survival Hunter justice. As you can see here, Troll and Night Elf have the highest baseline agility for each race. But only the Night Elf is actually viable. And we will get to that later, but for now you see 25 agility for the Night Elf and 22 for the Troll. But Horde is not viable, only Alliance is viable for Survival Hunter. And that's because of one major tiny reason. And that is, well, you might guess it, the Paladin buffs. And above them all, Blessing of Kings. 10% more to all stats, that means 10% more agility. Now take a moment just to think about it for a second. It's not just that you get 10% on your base stats, it's 10% on the buffs that you acquire. You will stack it upon maybe a Dark Moon buff, maybe a flask buff, food buff, and suddenly you're maybe up to around 900 agility after Naxxramas. And yeah, you're gonna have a significant advantage because it's one of the few classes that will actually scale with time, or, well, one of the few builds that will scale with time. Whereas, Marksman is more dependent on what gun you have, or bow or crossbow. They want big numbers upon the damage. The Survival Hunter want big numbers upon the agility that they can acquire. I'm not saying you shouldn't pick up a good crossbow like the one from Chromagus. You might want to reprioritize your items. You maybe want to get the neck from Nefarian, the Presters, just because it has such a ridiculous amount of agility. And I mean, it's 30 agility, and you're gonna have to weigh that in towards getting the crossbow. And then you're gonna have to, think about it. You're gonna have 10% from Blessing of Kings. You're getting another 15% on your talents. So yeah, it might just be worth taking that one above the crossbow. Let's for a second back to the question of which race is the best. I mean, it's not the most massive difference between Night Elf and Dwarf, but Night Elf still reigns supreme due to having more baseline agility. As you can see here in a comparison between, I took the best out of the best scenario between a Grand Marshal set and a Grand Marshal set, and some other best in slot items from AQ40, and just looking at how much agility that you will have for a Night Elf versus a Dwarf, and it's only 10 difference here without Blessing of Kings and other buffs, of course, and those will weigh in more once you take buffs, or as you could call them, steroids. Next up, let's just have a quick look at the talents. I mean, there is not much to say about it. 30 in survival, and basically two options are you gonna have. Especially for me, this is what I like to run. It's either improved feign death, if you don't like, your feign death getting resisted if you're farming Dire Maul, for example. Or you might just, like I do, if you wanna mix in a bit of PvP, and might be good in certain scenarios like Nefarian or Razorgore, where you have to put traps down to have an improved duration on your traps. Other talents, I mean, in the marksman tree you can swap for an improved concussive shot instead. Like I do, I'm more of this is more of a player versus environment build for Survival Hunter. So you can just swap a few talents in the same bracket to suit what you want to do. But what I highly recommend is taking Scatter Shot. It's just so good for everything. It is a 4-second disorient effect that you put up on another player or NPC, and it just best in slot as a talent. I would not run without it in any build. Okay, with talents done, we're gonna go into, your gear up in mode, or what you would call it, pre-bis from raiding. And this is a bit different from marksman. I mean, a lot different in one way, I would say. And for now, the easy pre-bis is very similar to marksman, um, except I have evil eye pendant because it has 15 agility. Giving up a crit almost for that, but this is all about stacking agility. Um, Bone slicing hatchet with 15 agility on each is just big. You get so much agility from that. Wind Reaver Grease, I mean, it's the same. Warp with Banding is the same as Marksman. Back with Helm, same as Marksman. Cave with the Black Baron, same as Marksman. And then you have, I would go for Wounds. Vice Grip is just really good for Survival Hunters. Get 2 hit, big hit item. Elven Rings, big hit, agility. Warp with Binding, yeah, big crit there with good agility on it, like the helm, chest, and legs here. So, yeah. Um, let's have a look at the more hard mode. This is just a bit harder to get. You need rank 10 to get the PvP gear. It's just a shit ton of crit, which is why it's so good for survival. Just look at the difference here. The easy mode is 23% crit. The hard mode is 27 and a bit above. 27 and a half almost crit. I mean, just look at it. It is going to be hard to get those ranks, and Amulet of Dark Moon is going to be hardest to get as well. It's pretty good. That's the only epic pre-bis I could think of. I mean, it might not even be pre-bis at this moment, but yeah. These are hard to get. You need to put on a lot of effort to get rank 10. I mean, it might be easier to get a giant stalker from Molten Core or even tier 2 than to get rank 10 at this point. So I would say skip tier 1. It is not that much agility to it compared to the hard. I would say the hard mode gear might actually be better than tier 1 in that aspect. You get a lot, at least you get more crit with it. But hey, um, let's move on to raiding items then. And I'm already in focus of AQ40. So this is not exactly what you will get right now, but it's very close to the stats. Stat-wise, at least. I mean, it's only the rings that will boost the stats the most here. That's the biggest difference in stats here is the Ring of the Godslayer and Signet Ring of the Bronze Dragonflight. Otherwise, you're going to be maxing out around 620. I mean, in baseline agility without Blessing of Kings buff right now. Um, Looking at the Barber the Sand Reaver, for example, here, you can take a look at Prester's Talisman of Converio. That's pretty current tier. I mean, the current best in slot is Doom's Edge and Drake Fang Blade from Veilstress. And the only difference between them and Barber the Sand Reaver is only like 5 to 6 agility or so. So you won't notice that much of a difference from me adding Barber the Sand Reaver here into the best in slot list right now. But what you might notice in the what I consider the AQ40 bis with the Strikers set is that Wrist Guards of True Flight is back as a bis item. You should be picking this up from Molten Core if you ever are going to raid it. It is going to be back for AQ40 due to that it has one ranged hit, and you're going to need to stack that with your Syrian's Binding from AQ20 because you're going to lack ranged hit, and you're going to lack a lot of ranged hit because a lot of hit disappears on the striker set. You are not going to be using the Sulgurub enchants, so you're losing 2 hit um, doing that on the striker set. Um, yeah, you're going to always be using +8 agility from Libram of Veracity because it gives 8 agility. You do not want attack power in its purest form, you want agility in its purest form. So you can also see I've added Cloak of the Fallen God instead of Cloak of Shrouded Mist from Ragnaros in Molten Core. It's only 3 agility difference, but hey, I just like adding what I consider best in slot for AQ40 here, just to show also the difference between a Striker's build and a Dragonstalker's build for AQ. It is 17 agility difference. It is not also that much of a difference, but it is noticeable, which is why I'm probably going to upgrade to Strikers. I like how the head looks on Strikers a lot more than Dragonstalkers. Even though Dragonstalker overall looks better than a Striker, the Striker shoulders are okay, but I would have liked to have Dragonstalker shoulders because they are probably one of the best looking shoulders in game. Also noting that the Drakefang Talisman is still considered BIS by me, and Blackhand's Breath, and they're going to be considered BIS by me up until you get a full tier Naxxramas gear. And in Naxxramas it is the Slayer's Crest and Kiss of the Spider talent. Kiss of the Spider trinket that I consider to be the 2 best trinkets that you can have at the end of Classic. You might now also ask if I don't like the 8 set bonus from Dragonstalker. I don't. I think it's very situational, like many trinkets out there. Many people say that, for example, that you should stack a certain trinkets that increases your damage for a short amount of time. I don't like doing that. I like consistency all the way, and those situational trinkets are only for shorter fights where you will surely do a lot of damage if you're below 2 minutes. But any fight that's above 2 minutes, I mean, Striker's gonna be better. I mean, even and also Strikers gives you a reduction in cooldown to rapid fire, which is going to be very good. It is probably one of the best set bonuses that there is. Of course, you could always run a Striker set here with 3 Dragonstalker pieces. You could run it with Dragonstalker wrists, gloves, and belt, and get the 3 set bonus from Dragonstalker. However, you are out of luck when it comes to hit then. You need to get more hit. And then you would have to trade Ring of the Godslayer for Band of Akura to get the hit required. I wouldn't do that though. It's just an increase in attack power and you're losing agility. Also, before you ask, yeah, all my guides and builds are gonna be normalized around a certain item like Rock Delar, just to have a good comparison of how it scales up. I mean, I'm never gonna use Rock Delar in pre-biz because, yeah, it is pre-biz is not raiding, and Rock Delar is a raiding item. You should also take note how good Blackhand's Breath is like for every class and how easy it is to get. So that is an item that you must have to raid even. If you don't have it, you should not be raiding. If you are in a guild where you can save DKP, for example, maybe you want to skip Strikers and just save up for Naxxramas and just stick with Dragonstalker if you have a full set. It is going to be fine. I mean, the end game is end game. You can't get anything better than Cryptstalker, which is why I don't see any point in putting up a guide for it. There is no supplement for Cryptstalker. It's just going to be the end, and that's it for vanilla, which is kind of boring. Everything up to AQ, I mean, everything beyond the AQ40 is pretty boring when it comes to items because you know that the Naxxramas gear is just gonna be the best. And I don't like that. You can't do any fun builds anymore after Naxxramas, and survival just completely takes over when it gets access to Cryptstalker because it just has so much agility. It is just insane. You're sitting at 700 agility from just gear and enchants, not even buffed. And when you get uh, buffs, flasks, food, you are looking at maybe almost 900 agility for the survival hunter. It's just insane. And uh, take the Darkmoon Fair buff with an additional 10 agility, Fellwood buffs. I mean, all the buffs that you can get that just increases your stats with Crypt Stalker. I don't know if you can get up to 1,000 agility, but I would say 900 agility is not impossible. Definitely not. I'm just gonna give a bit of a tip also. If you see in the video right now, you can see me playing, and the farming is just about to come down. And if you have Onyxia Scale Cloak equipped at this point, which you should have, or otherwise you're gonna die. But after this point, you should not be hit by any more flame breaths. So you should just equip whatever your best cloak is to increase your DPS. For example, I have Cloak of the Shrouded Mist, so I just feign death or get out of combat and just re-equip the Cloak of Shrouded Mist cloaks, position myself so I can't get hit by the Shadow Flame Breath if it would have gone off into the raid, which it at this point should not have. So yeah, now I'm equipped to deal more damage. So how many survival hunters would you want in the raid compared to marksman hunters? And you want it to be fairly equal in number. You would probably want to have more marksman hunters because a survival hunter wants the true shot arrow as well. 100 AP is nothing to laugh about. You want a lot of AP as a survival hunter as well as crits. And yeah, I would not bring more than 2 survival hunters. If you have 5 hunters, you bring, I would say 2 survival hunters could go. That would do. But preferably, if you have 4, you only want 1 survival hunter just to make sure that every physical damage dealing player and class has access to a true shot aura. So you want to have at least 3 groups that is able to get true shot aura for the raid. Um, yeah, I don't think I have that much more to talk about. I could go on for a long time just rambling along, but I think we'll have to do for now. And I might update this video for Naxxramas or improve it if I get feedback that something sucks. So yeah, my next guide I'm going to do. I am leveling a warrior right now, and I'm considering doing it for a dual wield arms spec. Yeah, very cheesy spec. I like to compare it to Fury Protection and just Fury Warriors in general and see how much damage you do if it's, something in between a Fury Warrior and a Fury Prot Warrior, or if it's just a beast that's doing damage or whatever it does, or if it just sucks all around. But yeah, I'm doing it on a human and it's going to be sword specialization, going in on it with Mortal Strike and everything, dual wielding 2 swords, and it's gonna be, I hope it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm almost at level 55 now as of uploading this, I think. Yeah, uh, it might be a while until that guide gets uploaded though, maybe a month or 2. I don't know. I'm gonna look at gear simulation, depending how it goes. Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.